Greetings, my dear brothers and sisters. I'm coming before you as part of a video presentation that we have felt would be appropriate for our stake members to see. I'm pleased to report that we're fast approaching a time when we may be able to resume our sacrament services, which makes me personally very excited. I miss seeing into your kind, smiling, and loving faces. We've been working with Bishop Tripp of the Pleasant Valley Ward, putting together a little video that will give each of you a sense of what you will expect to see when you return to our sacrament services. So what you're about to see are some portrayals virtually of some of the guidelines that we have put together in a plan for each of our wards in our stake. So you're going to see some of the regulations that we will apply as we come to church and apply the guidelines and regulations that have been given to us by the state of Washington and by our church leaders out of church headquarters. So I hope that you enjoy this brief little video and that you will discern from it that we're concerned about the health and welfare of our members in our stake, and that as we return together, we can do so safely, and we will avoid the hazards of the pandemic that we're dealing with. Please know that we love you, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future at our in-person sacrament services. And bless you all.
Many saints have awaited the day they could return to church to worship. The Centralia stake has applied for and received permission from the church to resume in-person worship at our ward buildings. However, as you can expect, there will be some adjustments from the manner in which we are accustomed to worshiping. This video is intended to highlight some of the safety precautions and adjustments so people are aware and understanding of these changes. The instructions contained are intended to ensure compliance with the official policies and guidelines established by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the Phase 3 regulations currently being applied by Washington State Department of Health. These guidelines are intended to ensure the health and safety of all individuals who may gather for worship services, like sacrament meeting or other gatherings at the ward building. When you arrive at the building, only the two main entrances to the building will be used, and hand sanitizer stations will be prominently positioned in both entrances. Along with that, you will see a supply of face masks, in case you don't have a mask with you. The building will have 6-foot markings on the floor to ensure and remind people to keep their distance from others. Trash cans will be placed throughout the building to properly dispose of any trash. And as always, we remind all that there is plenty of hot water and soap available in the restrooms for washing hands as well. When visiting the restrooms, please be aware there is a 2-person limit on individuals in the restroom. There are social distant markings in front of the restroom to use while you are waiting. One last note is that per guidelines, the drinking fountains have been turned off and are not to be used. We have assigned ushers to help seat all attendees as they arrive at the chapel doors as well as in the cultural hall. These ushers will kindly help people find available seats and will remind attendees of the 6-foot social distance guidelines. In the chapel, every other row, starting with the front row, has been marked closed. This is to maintain social distancing. Don't worry, if you forget which rows are closed, the ushers will reverently remind you and help you find another seat. On the rostrum, leaders and speakers will also be sitting with a space between them. Extra chairs will be set up in the cultural hall, with adequate spacing between rows as well. You will also notice that there is one-way marking on the floor to help with the flow of traffic to and from the restrooms. As a reminder, any individual or family who may have had a pre-existing health condition, age concerns, or are experiencing illnesses are invited to remain at home until they are comfortable or feel safe to return to church. We ask that all attendees self-screen for symptoms before they arrive to sacrament service or any other gathering. Face masks are to be worn by all participants during indoor gatherings or worship services. In an effort to reduce the number of items that are transferred from one person to another, the use of paper programs has been discontinued temporarily. Hymnals, have also been removed from the building until further notice. Many have had the question if we will be singing. Choirs will not be a part of formal worship services during this time, but congregational singing with masks may be allowed at the discretion of the bishop. That said, if you would like to have the words of the hymn, please download the Gospel Library app on your device, or bring your own hymnal with you when you attend. At the beginning of each sacrament meeting, the bishop or other assigned leader will briefly review the safety guidelines with the congregation. The podium and microphone are sanitized after each speaker by an assigned individual. To help with the increase in efficiency and airflow, the chapel doors are to remain open and the exterior doors remain closed for ventilation purposes. Each ward will have a designated COVID-19 supervisor. This person is assigned by the bishop and is required to be in attendance at each sacrament meeting. The role of the COVID-19 supervisor is to ensure that all of these adjustments are happening and we are in compliance with the policies and guidelines. The sacrament table is properly prepared before the service begins by the appropriate Aaronic priesthood holders. These priesthood holders will be trained on the safety and cleaning protocols needed to ensure the safety of all attendees. Any priesthood holders who do not feel well will not participate in the administration of the sacrament. Priesthood holders will be sure to wear reverent face masks while preparing, blessing, and passing the sacrament, and should avoid shaking hands, touching their eyes, nose, or mouth while participating in the sacrament ordinance. Priesthood holders who administer the sacrament are to use hand sanitizer between the bread and water distribution. Attendees are seated on every other row in the chapel, as mentioned previously. Deacons will not release the trays to the membership, but will simply offer the sacrament to each ward member to limit how many hands are touching the trays each week. The priests will break the bread and place a piece into individual cups to be passed to the congregation. The water is to be presented as typically done. When an attendee is presented with the tray, please take a cup of the bread, and an additional priesthood holder will follow the deacons to collect the used bread and water cups. Please do not place your used bread or water cup back in the sacrament tray with the bread or water. At the conclusion of the meeting, the sacrament trays are thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. At the end of each sacrament meeting, attendees will be dismissed row by row to limit the congestion in aisleways of the chapel and the hallways of the building. They will also be invited to straightway exit the building through one of the two foyer doors while maintaining social distancing. Each week, assigned families or individuals within the ward will do the required cleaning. Look for your turn to clean the chapel. This will go a long way to ensure the safety of your fellow ward members. Those assigned to clean and sanitize high-touch areas will do so according to the detailed checklist provided. Finally, if you have attended a recent church meeting and find out that you have been exposed, please report any illnesses to the appropriate ward and stake leaders.